We're here in the foyer of the old church. This little section here was built in 1979, and it was a tremendous victory for the church, really. This room here, this foyer, is probably 8 feet by 10 feet, and for the first time ever, Lamont had indoor plumbing, but I want you to get a sense of how small our bathrooms really were until 2005. Not exactly what you call visitor friendly. In fact, that's the men's restroom. Over here in the ladies' restroom, if you have any size at all, you had to back in there. It was pretty amazing. Come on with me into the sanctuary. This is where it really began, and this is a special room for us even today. When you look around at the room, you'll notice that it doesn't have a lot of the amenities that you might think a growing church would have. And obviously, we've taken all the pews out and have made it now a space that is used by our youth group and children's ministries throughout the week. But when we first arrived here, this is really where we were meeting. And these are the types of pews that we sat on. If you'll pan around there, Drew. These were homemade. Then we went ahead and sometime, I think it was in the 60s, bought cushions to put on them, but these were just homemade pews, and there were several rows of them. In this room, you could fit right around 70 or 80 people if you really packed them in like sardines. Now, at that particular time, when I first arrived, this wall over here, which is now plywood, was actually an accordion wall, and it went into our fellowship hall. As our church began to grow, what we did is we would open the accordion wall and actually have 2 different congregations looking in on the service. In order to have classroom space, we bought a shotgun house. The church bought a shotgun house and just attached it to the back of this schoolhouse room. And so this was our Sunday school facility back here. And just like at the youth house, you had the one main room, then you had 2 small bedrooms that were turned into very small classrooms, and then the back area there was just turned into storage and a place for storage. But all of our children's ministries would meet in these 2 small rooms, or 3 small rooms. I really say 2 small rooms because one of these rooms had a furnace in it, still does, but we still used it for a classroom. The fellowship hall really made it possible for us to grow as a church beyond just what that room in there could hold, the old sanctuary. If you'll come on in, Drew, and just sort of pan around. In this room, you could almost fit 100 people if you lined them up wall to wall and put them all the way to the back. On Easter Sunday, 2004, the Sunday right before we opened the new building, actually that was Easter Sunday 2005, we had 160 people come to church. And on that particular Sunday, we had to have 15 people stand outside because in between the fellowship hall and the old sanctuary, and even some people in the classrooms, we just could not fit everybody who was coming. You know, what I'd like to tell you is that it isn't the facility that makes the church the church. It's people who are willing to obey God. People who are willing to love people who are willing to use whatever God has given them in a way that would glorify Him and would bring people into the kingdom. When it comes to facilities, Lamont had nothing to offer. But when it came to love, we had a lot to offer. The love of God shining through us. Now that you've seen the facilities that were here when we arrived in the summer of 2000, let me tell you just a little bit about what happened after we arrived. The building of the parsonage had created momentum. God had answered prayer. The community had seen that this was a church that was taking steps of faith. And shortly after we arrived, we began to really promote the youth group. And it seemed like almost overnight, the youth group was running right around 60. The word was out that things were happening in Lamont. Over the next 4 years, really, the church just grew at a tremendous rate. It wasn't very long till we were averaging 120, and then 160. At that point, we had to build a new building. But we began this process. We broke ground for this building. And then in 2005, we were able to have, on July 10th, our dedication service. This facility is just a testament to what God can do in small places. We're gonna take a step in and just sort of get a sense of the building here when nobody's here, and then we're gonna take a look at what the building looks like on a Sunday morning. Come with me. Let's take a walk into Lamont Wesleyan Church today.
Jesus saves, mercy triumphs at the cross. Love has come to rescue us. Jesus saves. Hope is here. What a joyful noise we'll make as we join with heaven's song to let all the world know that Jesus saves. Raise a shout to let all the world know that Jesus saves. Free at last, every debt has been repaid. Broken hearts can be remade. Jesus saves. Sing above the storms of life. Sing it through the darkest night. Jesus saves. Free at last. What a joyful noise we'll make as we join with heaven's song to let all the world know that Jesus saves.
Often here in our district, we think that we're a place of small towns. In a lot of areas like this, the woods, mountains, and streams, and exciting, beautiful places, but not a lot of people. But that's not always the way it is. Here in the Northeast, 20 million people reside within our district. There's no excuse for us to remain small. It's time for us to reach the masses.